Cowboys Nation, the moment has finally arrived that many of us knew was coming, and it is impossible to ignore the magnitude of what has just happened. The Dallas Cowboys have officially parted ways with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, ending a tenure that, to put it bluntly, was nothing short of disastrous. This decision did not come lightly, but after a season filled with defensive failures, mounting frustration, and historic statistical collapses, the front office had no other real choice. From the outset, this year's defensive performance was a glaring problem that overshadowed any positives the team tried to build. Week after week, the defense struggled to make stops, allowed a relentless torrent of points, and left fans across Texas scratching their heads in disbelief. The inability to adjust during games, the lack of consistent strategy, and the repeated failures against even middle-tier offenses demonstrated that continuity at this position was no longer a viable option. Looking back over the season, it is hard to overstate just how poor the defensive output was. Against the Giants in Week 18, the Cowboys surrendered 34 points, a number that would have been hard to swallow even in a single bad game. However, this was not an isolated incident. Throughout the season, the team allowed 34 points to the Chargers, 34 to the Vikings, and 44 to the Lions. The pattern was unmistakable. The defense, which had shown promise in previous years under different schemes, was simply incapable of maintaining consistency or stopping opposing offenses. Even with key players like Quinn Williams stepping up occasionally, the overall impact on game outcomes was negligible. Each week seemed to bring new frustrations, leaving fans and analysts alike asking whether there was any hope for improvement without a complete shakeup in the defensive coaching staff. It is important to recognize that firing a defensive coordinator is not a decision made in a vacuum. The Cowboys had to weigh continuity against performance, and in this case, the choice was clear. There is a temptation in professional sports to cling to stability, to avoid change for fear of creating further disruption. But in Dallas, maintaining a defensive coach who oversaw the worst statistical defense in franchise history was not a compromise anyone could realistically support. Some critics might argue that repeated turnover at the coordinator position is destabilizing, but the reality is worse. Keeping a struggling coach for the sake of continuity would have been catastrophic. The team simply could not afford to allow another season to unfold under the same failed strategies, with the same inability to adjust to opponents' offensive schemes. The franchise's leadership clearly understood that if they wanted to preserve any hope for future success, decisive action was necessary. For those who followed Eberflus' career prior to this season, there were reasons to expect better. His tenure in Chicago and Indianapolis had shown flashes of competence, particularly in coordinating defenses that could compete at a high level. Even during his earlier years with the Cowboys as a passing game coordinator and linebackers coach under Rod Marinelli, he had earned respect for his strategic contributions. Yet, all of that experience failed to translate into meaningful results this year. The combination of poor scheme execution, inability to adjust mid-game, and repeated lapses in coverage created a season-long narrative of defensive ineptitude. Statistical measures, which often strip away subjectivity, reinforced the stark reality. The Cowboys were historically bad on defense. With over 511 points allowed in a single season, a franchise record, and frequent collapses against both division rivals and non-division opponents, the numbers painted a picture that could not be ignored. Even when analyzing performance metrics beyond points allowed, the defense fell short across the board. Yardage per play, passing yard allowed per game, rushing efficiency. Every single measurable category highlighted deficiencies that would have alarmed any coaching staff or fan base. The team consistently ranked at the bottom of league charts, from success rate to expected points added. These numbers, while stark, only tell part of the story. Watching the games week after week revealed a defense that was reactive rather than proactive, hesitant rather than aggressive, and often out of position when plays mattered most. In close games, when every stop counted, the Cowboys were unable to rise to the occasion. Each failure contributed not just to losses on the scoreboard, but to a growing frustration within the locker room and a loss of confidence in defensive leadership. Moreover, The timing of this firing underscores the importance of decisive leadership in professional football. Waiting too long to make a change can exacerbate problems, leaving a team trapped in mediocrity or outright failure. By acting now, the Cowboys signal a commitment to rebuilding a defense that can be competitive at every level. This is not just about replacing a coach. It is about setting a tone for accountability, ensuring that players and staff alike understand the high standards expected in Dallas. While Eberflus' tenure was disappointing, it serves as a reminder that professional football is unforgiving, and even experienced coaches are held to the results they produce on the field. The front office, recognizing this reality, chose action over hesitation, and in doing so, has opened the door for a defensive renaissance. The impact of this move will be felt throughout the team, not just in the defensive unit. Offenses may now need to adjust to a new coordinator's philosophy, and the defensive roster will have the chance to redefine roles, responsibilities, and schemes. For players, this is an opportunity to reset, to prove themselves under fresh leadership, and to demonstrate that they can rise to the challenges that have plagued them all season. For fans, this is a moment of cautious optimism, a chance to believe that the Cowboys can return to their former competitive glory on both sides of the ball. The path forward is uncertain, but decisive action at one of the most critical coaching positions in football is a necessary step toward improvement. Of course, the firing of Matt Eberflus is just one piece of a larger puzzle. The Cowboys' defensive struggles were not solely the result of coaching failures. Personnel issues, injuries, and inconsistent performances across all three levels of the defense played a role in creating the historically poor season. Replacing a coordinator alone will not magically fix every problem, and it is critical that subsequent hires are paired with targeted personnel adjustments and strategic planning. This is a team-wide challenge that will require collaboration, evaluation, and patience as the front office works to assemble a staff capable of restoring defensive credibility. As Cowboys Nation reflects on this monumental decision, it is worth remembering the broader context. In the modern NFL, the margins between success and failure are razor-thin, and defensive performance can determine not just the outcome of individual games, but the trajectory of an entire season. By making the bold choice to part ways with Eberflus, the organization is acknowledging the urgency of the situation and its commitment to reversing a pattern of defensive underperformance. The statistical history is damning, but the opportunity to rewrite that history is now within reach. The Dallas Cowboys have set the stage for a pivotal offseason, one that will test their ability to recruit the right leader, reshape defensive strategies, and instill a culture of accountability and excellence on that side of the ball. Looking ahead, the challenge for the Dallas Cowboys now shifts toward finding a defensive coordinator capable of turning this historically bad unit into a competitive force. The search cannot be rushed or superficial. Unlike in previous years, where selections felt reactive or limited, this must be a deliberate, exhaustive process. Candidates will need to be evaluated not only for their strategic acumen, but also for their ability to develop players, adjust in-game schemes, and implement a culture that prioritizes discipline and accountability. This team cannot afford another misstep at such a critical position, and the pressure is immense because fans, players, and the entire organization understand that defensive failures have cost the Cowboys more games than they should have. A misfire here would not only prolong mediocrity, but also erode confidence in leadership decisions. The reality of the task ahead is daunting. Bringing in a new defensive coordinator will require full cooperation from the roster and alignment across all levels of coaching. The defensive line, linebackers, and secondary all suffered this season from inconsistent direction and poorly executed schemes. Any new hire must have the vision and authority to make sweeping adjustments while maintaining player buy-in. Success will not be immediate, but with the right leadership, it can be sustainable. Historically, Dallas has seen periods of defensive strength when coaching and personnel aligned. That blueprint is available, but it will require meticulous evaluation, patience, and a willingness to make bold decisions that go beyond simply changing names on the roster. It is also critical to remember that the offensive unit, despite performing at a high level, cannot compensate for a defense that allows 30 or more points in nearly every game. The quarterback may have heroic outings, and the offense might set records, but without stops on the other side, victories become far more difficult to secure. This imbalance was evident all season. The Cowboys frequently scored points in bunches, yet the final outcomes reflected defensive shortcomings. Fans experienced the frustration of seeing late leads evaporate or games slip away due to preventable lapses. The hiring of a new coordinator is therefore not just a technical adjustment. It is an essential step toward restoring balance across the team. A revitalized defense is necessary if Dallas hopes to compete consistently at the highest level. As the search unfolds, the front office must also consider the broader coaching philosophy that will define the defensive approach. In past years, the Cowboys relied on reactive strategies, but modern NFL offenses demand proactive, adaptable schemes capable of neutralizing both the pass and the run. The new coordinator must embrace analytics, tendencies, and situational football, translating complex data into actionable game plans. Success will hinge on the ability to anticipate opponent moves, adjust on the fly, and instill confidence in players who have endured repeated frustrations. Every aspect of preparation, from weekly game plans to in-game adjustments, must be executed flawlessly to avoid repeating the mistakes that defined last season. The history of defensive coordinator changes in Dallas offers both cautionary tales and lessons. Previous hires sometimes reflected limited searches, missed opportunities, or reluctance to fully explore alternative options. To break from that pattern, this upcoming search must be intentional. It is not enough to settle for the familiar or the convenient. Interviews must be conducted with a diverse pool of candidates, evaluating a variety of defensive philosophies and leadership styles. Only through a comprehensive vetting process can the Cowboys ensure that they hire someone capable of restoring credibility and producing measurable results. The decision will reverberate throughout the roster, affecting player morale, coaching cohesion, and ultimately, the team's win-loss record. Players themselves will face adjustments, as any new coordinator is likely to implement fresh schemes, responsibilities, and expectations. This period will be critical in establishing accountability, communication, and clarity across all levels of the defense. Veterans who previously struggled with schemes or execution will need to embrace new strategies, while younger players must quickly adapt to heightened expectations. The coaching transition is not simply about drawing up new plays. It is about cultivating a culture where mistakes are minimized, preparation is emphasized, and each player understands their role in contributing to overall team success. For fans, this transition may evoke a mix of hope and apprehension. The frustration of the past season will linger, yet the firing of Eberflus presents a rare opportunity to reimagine the defense from the ground up. Optimism is justified if the team approaches this process methodically, seeks top-tier talent, and implements systemic changes rather than temporary fixes. This is a chance to restore pride in a unit that has historically defined championships and playoff success for the franchise. The Dallas Cowboys have a unique responsibility to fans and the legacy of the team, and every decision moving forward will be scrutinized for its potential impact on that tradition. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL community, Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer reportedly made a bold and controversial decision by sidelining a key starter ahead of the team's crucial clash with the New York Giants. Sources close to the organization suggest that tensions have been simmering behind the scenes, and Schottenheimer, known for his uncompromising approach, decided to make a statement, one that could reverberate far beyond this single game. The decision to bench the starter has fueled speculation about internal dynamics within the Cowboys locker room. Insiders hint that Schottenheimer's move was not purely tactical, but may also be disciplinary, a signal to the roster that no player, regardless of status, is above accountability. Analysts have been quick to weigh in, noting that Schottenheimer has built a reputation for demanding precision and adherence to his system, and that this incident could be a turning point in how the team responds under pressure. Fans are already buzzing on social media, dissecting every possible reason behind the unexpected lineup change. Some speculate that the benching could be linked to recent inconsistencies in performance, while others believe it might stem from off-field issues that haven't yet surfaced publicly. The Cowboys coaching staff has remained tight-lipped, offering only cryptic statements that have only intensified the intrigue. Meanwhile, the Giants are reportedly aware of the situation and could see an opening in a Cowboys team that now faces heightened scrutiny. This development has reignited debates about Schottenheimer's leadership style, his willingness to make difficult calls, even at the expense of star power, paint a picture of a coach who prioritizes discipline and strategy above all else. Observers are left wondering how the team will respond. Will this shake-up galvanize the Cowboys, or will it create internal friction at a moment when unity is paramount? Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain. Brian Schottenheimer has made it unmistakably clear that in his eyes, performance and accountability trump reputation. As the NFL world watches closely, the ramifications of this decision could shape not only this pivotal matchup, but also the trajectory of the Cowboys season. Rumors, speculation, and intense scrutiny are now swirling, making this one of the most talked about coaching moves of the year. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.